Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to part 2, season 6, episode 52 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, the Key in Metro Atlanta, the home of Southern Talk and Sports. Good afternoon, everybody, for part 2 of Live with CDP Sports Talk this afternoon on this Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. And I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is the second time on my show, and I'm going to bring him on right now. His name is Scott Crawford. He's the Director of Operations with the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in beautiful St. Mary's, Ontario. Good afternoon, Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Not too bad on this warm weather for the going towards the end of October.
Yeah, no, this is beautiful weather. Yesterday was like 20 degrees here in St. Mary's, and today is almost the same, and a little bit of rain coming in, but still all right temperatures.
I was just reading on your Twitter page, the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame Twitter page, that you guys now have the 4 ball diamonds shut up for the winter.
Yeah, I mean, we've our season's sort of mid-April to mid-October, right? And we had hosted about 900 events this summer, and so it was a busy year, and we're just, hopefully by Friday, everything's wrapped up and doors locked, and just put everything away for the wintertime, because it's November next week. So, it's time to put the bats and balls away from outside and go inside.
Yeah, they're already having winter in Alberta. I guess they're getting a ton of snow there. So far we've been lucky, but I'm going to ask you this, Scott. Obviously, they're closed now. When do you guys get the fields ready and reopen again in 2024 for the Diamonds?
Yeah, I mean, it usually depends on Mother Nature, truly. But usually mid-April, we get things out, put the bases back out. And usually by the third week of April, there's kids back playing on the ball field, and which is fantastic. I mean, that's what, one of the things we're all about here with the 4 fields is having kids play ball. And it's a busy season. People can, we got regulars that rent our site obviously every week, but there's also a lot of one-timers that come in with their kids' ball teams and have a barbecue, museum tour, and play a ball game to make a day out of it, which is really cool too.
Overall, how's the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame been doing since the restrictions of the pandemic have been loosened for the last year and a half? Because I know it was a tough 2 years for a lot of businesses.
Yeah, 2020 and 2021, like a lot of places, and especially in Ontario here, where indoor attractions were shut down or are very limited. But the last 2 summers have been great for us. People are back out wandering around. The ball fields are full of kids playing ball, and our museum's been great attendance. So we're pretty happy with how things have been the last two summers.
Currently, do you have any new items at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame right now?
We're always getting a few new things in. Probably the most exciting one is the Rob Thompson, who we probably talk about later or might not, is he managed the All-Star game, of course, this past summer, and he sent us his jersey, his hat, and his shoes from the All-Star game. So that was a pretty cool get, because, of course, Rob was inducted back in 2019 into our Hall of Fame.
Sarnia, Ontario born, and I believe currently he lives in Stratford. Apparently, currently
he lived in Stratford a couple of years ago. He just moved to Stephenville, just north of St. Mary. So yeah, he's a Southern Ontario fella. he born and grew up Southern Ontario, married a Southern Ontario girl, and comes back home every off season.
Have you had the I guess talking to him at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I mean, I've known him forever because, again, he's been around here forever and he's coached in the big leagues for, 3 decades. The last few off seasons, of course, we go spend a day together because he lives right, basically next door. And we just, talk baseball. And there's no better legend in this game to talk baseball with. Rob coached the Yankees for 25 years, and now he's leading a great Phillies team. Of course, not the best results for him and his team the other night, but still he's a great fellow, great manager, and he's got a great ball team with him.
Absolutely. Philadelphia is a hard market. When you win in that city, you're like a king, but when you don't win, you can get a lot of criticism. So you have to have kind of a roll thick skin to manage and coach in that city for their sports teams.
For sure, and Rob does. I mean, Rob was coach for the New York Yankees for 25 years. Like, he coached Derek Jeter, A-Rod, Rivera, Pettit, Posada, like the big four, all through the Yankee heydays of winning all the World Series in the late 90s. I mean, Rob basically ran the team. He was bench coach. He was third base coach. He ran spring training. So Rob definitely knows how to handle the pressure, whether it's in Philadelphia or in his past New York jobs.
And I think he's the right guy to manage this Phillies team because, hey, the manager can only do so much, but it's up to the players, the athletes, to execute and perform in the big games. But sometimes the media and the fans like to blame the managers when it loses.
Yeah, I mean, he's the top dog, right? He's the manager, so he has the say in the dugout with, I know he talks to his coaches a lot and takes a lot of input from his coaches as well, but ultimately, like you said, he's got the big title, so he gets the most criticism if things go wrong.
Absolutely. Now we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago, and I always thought there had never been a Canadian-born manager win a World Series, but you said there was one back in 1884, 1887 with Detroit, I guess. I don't know if they were even the Tigers back.
Yeah, no, they were the Detroit Wolverines back in 1887. They won the World Championship. Billy Watkins from Brantford, Ontario, was the manager, and so it was the modern day World Series started in 1903, but it was still Major League Baseball in 1887, and so it was still the championship of Major League Baseball. And Watkins was the first one, and only one as of now to win the World Series as a Canadian manager.
Absolutely. Something else I didn't know about until yesterday as well. The Philadelphia Phillies, 141-year history, had never played a 7th game in a playoff series before until last night. That's hard to believe.
It is. You look back, and I mean, Connie Mack led Philadelphia forever, and Philadelphia's changed franchises a few times, so. But yeah, no, game 7s are, final games. They're tough. They don't happen a lot because, usually one team wins out, quicker than the other. But in my mind, game 7s are the best. I was so excited for 2 game 7s this year. One, of course, was a blowout, so not quite as exciting, unless, of course, you're a Texas fan, then you loved it. But I'm a baseball fan, and so I like last night's game. Way better than the Houston, Texas game 7, just because it was close and exciting, and any pitch can change the game in a close ball game.
Absolutely. And since we're talking about it right now, Arizona's got some Blue Jay Canadian connections with Dave McKay, an original Blue Jay in 77. Torey Lovello, he's a former Tiger, but a former Blue Jay coach. Gabriel Moreno, who's going to be a star catcher for many years in Major League Baseball. And Lourdes Gurriel Jr. And I believe Josh Barfield is still with them. Is baseball operations.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of connections. You're right. I mean, the big trade with the Blue Jays last offseason, how we got Barshall and we sent the catcher and the outfielder to Arizona. I really look at Dave McKay. I mean, Dave McKay's in our Hall of Fame from back in 2001, so it's been 22 years. But he spent 50 years in the game. I was looking him up today, and 1971 he started playing professional baseball, and he played it for a decade. Made 645 games in the big leagues. He was the first Canadian to play for the Blue Jays. He was on he was standing at third base on April 7, 1977 in the snow when the Jays beat the White Sox for their first ever game and win. And he went on to coach with the legendary Tony La Russa for several years in Oakland and St. Louis, and won 3 World Series with those teams, and then went off to the Cubs. And he's been in Arizona the last decade, so he knows that organization. He's been through the managers. He's been through the 100 lost seasons of a couple of years ago, and now he's been through the top of the top. I mean, he's in the World Series, so I feel so happy for Dave and his family to be back in the World Series. And the other connection is Jeffrey Royer. Jeffrey Royer is one of the general partners for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he's a Toronto fella. So we've got lots of connections with Arizona.
Yeah, I guess with Texas, from what I've seen, it's just Marcus Semien, the former Blue Jay.
Yeah, I mean, Semien was lights out, amazing for us in 2021, and did some great things. And we could have re-signed him for a lot of money, but Texas gave him a ton of money for, I think, a 10-year deal or 8-year deal. And he's a great player. In the last 3 years, he's missed 1 baseball game. That's how much he plays ball and how much he loves ball and how much his body allows him to do it. And players like that are very rare these days. And he's had a tough playoff series, but if you look at his stats the last 3 or 4 years, I mean, he's one of the top players in all of baseball with his offensive numbers. So Texas, has paid a lot of money for him, so they're glad he's doing well, and hopefully he has a great World Series for them.
Both of these organizations had struggled the past few years, but Texas, I think the day they really changed that franchise around. Obviously, they signed a lot of great players like Corey Seager and Semien from the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, but I think their best hire or acquisition was Bruce Bochy, who I think will be in the Baseball Hall of Fame when his career is done.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about a retirement. He was, fishing and hanging out with his grandkids and whatnot. I mean, Bruce obviously has a huge history and pedigree with those 3 World Series with the Giants in 2010, 12, and 14. But he's one of those old school managers, and you look at all the managers that were in the ALCS and NLCS. I mean, Torey Lovullo is the youngest one when you get Dusty Baker and Rob Thompson and everyone all combined. And Bochy, I think I agree with you, will be in the Hall of Fame. Definitely a shoo-in if he wins this World Series, because that'll be 4 under his belt. And it's a great pickup by Texas. And you're right, they got some good players, but you need a really good leader. And I think Bruce is that great leader.
And what are your thoughts on Torey Lovullo? The job he's done with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and look at their playoff run. I think they put out a very good Milwaukee team. They swept the Dodgers, who were considered probably the best team in baseball in the regular season, and then coming back from 2-0 against Philly to win 4 out of 5 games, including games 6 and 7 at Citizens Bank Park, where the Phillies have a lot of success there since that ballpark opened up in 2004, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the team rolling, right? I mean, he's got great everything has to be going right for you to get to the World Series, right? Like, one team is going to be happy and 29 teams are going to be like, what can we do to get better? And he's got just as good a chance with Texas as Arizona or as Texas does. He's got the Rookie of the Year there. He's got great defense. He's got great bullpen, as we saw the last few days, and some good starting pitching. So he's got the team rolling, and again, he's got players on his team that lost over 100 games a couple of years ago, so they know the bottom of the barrel, and they fought their way to the top with some key acquisitions and some minor leaguers coming up like Corbin Carroll, and he's led them to gel together and be 4 wins away from the big trophy.
Absolutely. How good is Gabriel Moreno? Do you think he has Hall of Fame talent if he can stay healthy?
I mean, he's played 1 year. I mean, too early to tell for that type of thing. I mean, he was a top-rated prospect, obviously. Catchers, it's such a tough position. You look at like the Joe Mauers and the Buster Posies of the world, who were such great players. They had to get out of catching, so they could play every day and stay healthy. because catching is a terrible position on your body. He had a great year. Definitely, he showed why he was our top prospect in all of baseball, and of course with the Jays organization. To get, it's one of those trades where you give up. It was basically Gurriel, who is a proven outfielder, for a prospect and for a proven outfielder. So that's just the way these trades go, and we'll see. I mean, I want to see 5 years from now how he's doing, and if he's still doing it, and if he's still getting the catcher position and play 100 and in the old days, they play 130, 140 games as a catcher, but now I think they're more 100 games as a catcher and throwing some DH and some days off.
Absolutely. Hey, you never know with trades. Being a Tiger fan back in '87, I was like, oh, we got Doyle Alexander, and it helped the Tigers win the East in '87. But long term, we lost that trade because John Smoltz became a Hall of Fame pitcher with the Atlanta Braves. But at the time, you just thought, hey, this is a great trade. We'll give up Smoltz and we'll get a veteran like Doyle Alexander in, and you just never know.
It's like that all the time with trades. I mean, every offseason, every regular season, every trade deadline, you give up, you get that veteran for the prospects, and have some turn out good and have some turn out bad. I think in the long run, if you look at all the trades, over all the years, no general manager has been perfect, and every general manager will say, "Man, why the heck did I make that trade?" But at the time, it was the right decision, and you got to go with what you got to go with your gut feeling at that time. Again, someone could get hurt, a pitcher could blow out their elbow tomorrow and never pitch again, or a hitter could hurt their back and never be able to run around the outfield. You just don't know, and you got to go with your gut at the time and make it happen.
Okay, before we get into some questions about the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, where do the Toronto Blue Jays go in 2024 from here? Do you think they should keep, obviously the Toronto Maple Leafs are keeping their core together for another run. Where do you see this Blue Jays team going in 2024?
I think it's a tough question because in 2022, they had the best offense and average defense and average pitching, and they lost in 2 games in the wild card. In 2023, they had the best pitching, the best defense, average hitting, and lost in 2 games in the wild card. So they flip-flopped and tried both ways with the same result. So I think they got to go somewhere in the middle. And obviously because Chapman's a free agent, Merrifield will be a free agent, Kiermaier's a free agent, Ryu's gone. He's a free agent. So they need to. It's tough to take away defense, but I think you put Varshall in center because he's a great outfielder, and you got to go for an offensive left fielder that maybe is not quite as good as defensively. Bichette's not going anywhere, Guerrero's not going anywhere, Springer's not going anywhere, Jansen and Kirk aren't going anywhere. So Varshall. So, you got DH can be, I like Brandon Belt. I was a Brandon Belt fan because he can get on base. And in my mind, I love Joey Votto. Joey Votto can get on base. The number one thing in baseball is to not get out. And for a lot of years, Joey Votto was the best at that in baseball. And Brandon Belt, his on base percentage was probably, the best on the team. We can't count him on him as an everyday player because of his back situation, but that's one I would bring back into the fold. And but I think, third base, are we going to go with a kid from Buffalo? There's definitely a few kids that prove they could hit in Buffalo. Left field, I think we'll go free agent wise. Pitching, you always need pitching. But pitching is so up in the air. We could get Ryu back. Ryu had a great last 6 weeks of the season. Give him a short-term deal and with some incentives and get him back. I don't think we will necessarily, but I think we got to get a little bit more offense and maybe take a hit on a little bit of defense again.
One thing, Scott, I did cover the Buffalo Bisons this year as media, and I think they're doing a tremendous job down there getting guys ready for the major leagues. And Casey Candell, I've talked to him a few times, and I can't believe Major League team hasn't shown any interest in him, because I think he would make a very good Major League Baseball manager. He's very good at communicating and getting his players to play hard.
Yeah, no, I've only met or talked to him a couple of times. I mean, we inducted his mom into the Hall of Fame back in 2021, right? Helen, who played with the All American Girls Professional Baseball League, and Casey was great to talk to then. And yeah, no, I mean it's usually a stepping stone, right? If you do well in AAA, you got good reputation, you're good with the players, then your next step is maybe a big league coaching job before a big league managing job. But yeah, I mean, the Buffalo guys were hitting. I mean, the hitting coach in Buffalo, I think I looked at one point near the end of the season, and 8 of their 9 starters had an OPS over 800, and a few of them were over 900. Now, there's obviously a difference between AAA and the big leagues. There's no doubt about it. But, I mean, if you can rake in AAA, I mean, there's going to be some guys with the shots to make the big league club next spring, and it's going to be an interesting conversation come spring training.
Yeah, their hitting coach is former Jay Matt Haig. I played with the Jays in 2015, and the first class organization. Just being media, they're great with me, and the kids down there were great. And I was so happy to see Cameron Eden, one of my. I kind of got to know him down there, get a chance with the Jays, and I'm hoping he gets another shot with the Jays in spring training, because he set their franchise record. Modern day franchise record was 54 stolen bases, and I think teams need to get back to using the stolen base, because home runs are nice and they're great, but when the home runs dry up and you can't advance runners or get guys on base, you can have trouble scoring. Just ask the Phillies.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, again, there's different facets of the game that the Jays need, and you don't want a guy taking up a roster spot that can only run, but running is very key. You need that guy who can play defense, be the defensive replacement, pinch run, hit a little bit, obviously. And Jays have a few questions. I mean, a lot of their, with Biggio and Espinal probably locking down second base. Really, I mean, it's left field and DH and third base that are 3 big needs currently as the team stands in my mind. And say those guys in AAA, I think some of them are gonna get a great shot to in spring training to prove what they can do.
What are your thoughts on John Schneider as a manager?
I think he's good. I know obviously this is how the season ended, and everyone got all up in arms and upset. Again, he's a fella who came up the ranks and from single A in Vancouver and went through Buffalo and came to the big leagues, and I think he can relate to them. I think having Don Mattingly beside him is a good thing, because Mattingly is obviously a legendary ball player and has managed in the big leagues prior, and can take some of his experiences and give them to John, because again, John's kind of a younger fellow, especially compared to Don. But I think John did fine. His whose fault is it if the players have an average year? I mean, there's different theories. The manager doesn't hit, but he motivates. So if you can't hit, well, whose fault is it? Someone can't hit. It's definitely different theories on that, but I think John's done a great job. He's going to be back next year, and I think he's going to lead them to another good year.
Don Mattingly, do you feel he'll be back with the club, or do you feel he'll get another manager position in Major League Baseball?
No, I think he'll be back. Obviously, if he gets offered a managing job, he's probably going to go. And after the World Series is usually when the managers get fired, and then there's all kinds of things, because the Jays wouldn't hold him back to getting a manager's job, because it would be a step up. But no, I think he'll be back, and again, I think his experience in the clubhouse, in the dugout. I mean, again, he played for the Yankees, and there's no more scrutiny from the media or fans than in New York, and he handled it for a decade, and he knew what to do. He knew how to played the game right. Great defensive player, great hitter. Again, his health got in his way, and he had to retire. But I think Don will be back.
And I think Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins have a lot of work to do, because they have the pieces to win, but it's a matter of putting it together for the playoffs. And also how do you reassure the fan base, because I think a lot of the fan base is a little upset with management right now. So they've got a little bit of PR work to do in the off season as well.
They do, but again, 29 teams will have some work to do in the offseason
Yes.
because only Arizona or Texas are going to raise the trophy. And again, I think they got their core. They got great pitching from their starting 3 or 4 guys, and then Romano and the bullpen. Their bullpen will probably be very similar. Jordan Hicks will probably leave as a free agent because I'm sure he wants to be a closer, and he's not going to be a closer in Toronto. So I think, the rotation is great. Again, I think they got to figure out the offense. They were an average hitting team this year. And why was that? I mean, every player was their career average or lower this year hitting. And it's not as one of those one-off rare things, because how often does all 9-year hitters have an average year? And average by, I mean, like Bo Bichette had an average year, but it was still, he hit 300, but that's his average, right? Everyone else had an average year or below, and that doesn't happen very often. But you see what happens when it does. So even if a couple of hitters had good to great years, we would have been in a lot different spot. And I think I think we got a great base to build from, and we just fill in a couple spots. And like I say, every team's begging for pitching. So we can say go get some pitching, but there's 30 teams looking for pitching. So we need help from Buffalo. We need that guy who no one's heard of that comes through and has a great year, and we'll be in good shape.
And maybe get Alex Manoah back on track as well, because I think they were counting on him to win 15 to 17 games last year.
Yeah, I mean he's the biggest, one of the biggest question marks again, because he came out of nowhere in 2022. I mean, not nowhere, but he wasn't he was a rookie. He finished top 3 in Cy Young. So I mean, he came out of nowhere and had a Cy Young type season in 2022. And then of course, 2023 was just not good when he was pitching, and off the field stuff you hear about as well. But he just, he's young. He raced through the minor leagues. He's a big, strong kid. His legs are just full of rocks and stones. He's so big and strong, which is great for a pitcher. He just, whether he needs a year in AAA, he needs to get 30 starts in and throw 180 innings. And whether that means a year at AAA to figure it out, and then 2025 is his year back in Toronto. Time will tell, but I could see that as a very viable thing this next year. Is again, get him back pitching. He kind of lost a year this year, and get him back throwing, get him back every 5 days, work through the stuff that he needs to work through, whether it's pitch selection or pitch grip or whatever, and then get him going every 5 days. You gotta see him pitch, and if it's a year in AAA, then hopefully everyone can handle that, and then he's ready to go in 2025. If he fixes it over the off season, fantastic. I love him in our starting rotation. He can be our number 3-4 starter in a rotation, no problem. I'll love that too.
All right, so I'm going to get to some questions about the Hall of Fame. Scott, can you just tell us about the latest upcoming events at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame? And can you tell my audience about your 2024 membership drive at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in beautiful St. Mary's?
Yeah, we do a few things in the fall. For this time of year, if you want to come visit the museum, you basically just contact us first, and we set up a time to come tour. Obviously, our students have all gone back to school, and our staff is limited this time of year, but museum is still open all year long. So if it's a cold day in January and you want to talk baseball, just call me before you come, and we'll set up a time to do that. Our membership drive is one of our key things to raise money, especially over the winter time. It's as cheap as $60 for a membership. There's 5 different levels, all the way up to $1,100, where different levels get you different things. The higher memberships, of course, get you dinner with the inductees, and it gets you golf banquet dinner tickets. The memberships also get you reserved seating for the induction ceremony in June, and early access to the autograph session, which is held after the ceremony with the Hall of Famers. So it's and you get a tax receipt too. So it's a great way to support the Hall of Fame, get a tax receipt, and also a great way to get up and close and personal with some of the inductees. And we also have another great fundraiser this fall. It's our holiday silent auction, which starts November 20th, and it'll be up online, and there'll be 100 different items, mostly baseball stuff, but I even threw in some hockey stuff and some other things as well. And it's another great way to win yourself a pretty cool prize or item for, as a gift, or keep it yourself and support the Hall of Fame. So, and those are the two big money things we have coming up in the off season. We give out our Jack Graney Award and our Tip O'Neill Award, of course, early December as well. And Jack Graney is a Lifetime Media Award. And then our Tip O'Neill Award is our Top Canadian-Born Player Award. So those two things will come out late November and early December, which is pretty cool too. There's so many Canadians. There's 17 Canadians playing Major League Baseball this year. And then, of course, the Lifetime Media Award is all kinds of people to pick from that help, like you're doing, promoting the game and running the game, the media-wise.
How difficult is it to decide who gets these awards? And what are your current operations right now with the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame right now?
The awards are, the Jack Graney Award, we have the past living member, or the winners, the past winners vote on that as the committee. So it's pretty cool. You can see who's won it in the past, and they're the experts. They've won the award, so they're obviously the best of the best. And so they help us pick the current, the newest winner of that award. And the Tip O'Neill Award, it's not a Major League award, although Major League players win it most of the times. A couple of years ago, Jamie Romack won it when he was out in Korea playing baseball. One amateur won it. Daniel Brabants won it. Some minor league guys have won it. But it's a Top Canadian-Born Players Award. And again, that committee's spread across Canada. It's a mix of people again for that committee, because again, we want a wide variety of input. So there's baseball media, there's past winners, there's historians, there's executives that all vote on that award as well. So we're pretty excited. We have 3 major announcements each year, which is the inductions class in February, and then these 2 awards sort of in November, December. So we're pretty excited getting close to these 2 big awards.
And that leaves my next question. And I want to say thank you again, Scott, for having me come down in June. I absolutely loved visiting the Hall of Fame in St. Mary's for the first time. And what were your thoughts again on that class of 2023 and also 2020 with Jacques Dorset and John Olerud?
Yeah, it was a great group of people. You're right. There were 4 from 2023, Jesse Barfield, Rich Harden, Denny Boucher, and Joe Weichar. And then because of the COVID situation, John Olerud and Jacques Doucette were able to attend, even though they were 2020 people or inductees. And it was just, again, it was a great class because you got the 2 Blue Jays in Jesse Barfield and John Olerud, the players. You got the Canadian pitcher and Rich Harden, who's from British Columbia. You got Denny Boucher, who played for both teams, the Blue Jays and Expos, pitched 10 years professionally. He's been a scout for the last 20 years, and he's been Baseball Canada's head pitching coach for the last 20 years. So he's all facets of the game. Joe Weichar, 70 years in the game of baseball in Manitoba.
Wow.
How do you beat that, right? I mean, he did everything. He started Baseball Manitoba. He started the Baseball Manitoba Hall of Fame. He helped Baseball Canada. He ran everything in Manitoba for several decades. And then Jacques Doucette, the voice of the Expos, right? I mean, he did all the French broadcasts right from almost day one and right to the end of the Expos in 2004. And then he was broadcasting the Blue Jays in French for the last several years as well. So we had announcers, we had executives, we had coaches, and we had players. So it was a great day of speeches and all facets of the game.
Also, when I think of a voice of the Montreal Expos, Dave Van Horn, I grew up listening to him in the 70s and 80s, and I thought he had a great career as well. Obviously, I think he's retired now, but he did the Marlins games for, 20 years or so, but he's another great broadcaster as well.
Well, Van Horn is, and that's where you take Van Horn and Doucette. Doucette was the French-speaking one, and Van Horn was the English-speaking one, and they were the great, they were the great, like Tom and Jerry for the Blue Jays, right? And you think of the Expos, it's Doucette and Van Horn for all those years, just because longevity. They did it forever. I mean, Van Horn left, I think, after 2000 and went off to Florida at the time, but the Miami Marlins. And Doucette stayed right to the end of the Expos. And you're right, Dave just did retire. I think after 2021, he retired. And so he's enjoying the retirement life now. But again, he broadcast for over 50 years, Van Horn did. So again, think of all the games and all the magical moments that he helped broadcast.
And my fingers are crossed one day Jerry will be in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and the Blue Jays will finally put him up on the level of excellence. I know Jerry's a very humbled man, but I just think I grew up as a Tigers fan, but I grew up listening to Tom and Jerry as well on the radio. And back then, this, Scott, a lot of games weren't on TV as much. So you were relying on the radio guys to paint the picture for you for your baseball team back then.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Jerry ended up doing, I think, over 5,000 Blue Jay games, if my math is right. And he's a legend. He retired, obviously, a couple of years ago, and we stay in touch a lot. He's won the Jack Graney Award for broadcasting excellence or media excellence. And, I think down the road he'll get in. Again, we've inducted Tom Cheeks in, Dave Van Horn's in, Jacques Doucette's in, Tony Kubek's in. And I think Jerry won't be long behind.
You know what? The Blue Jays have only been in baseball, 46, 47 years. But look at the great broadcasters. Tom and Jerry, obviously. Early Wynn, Tony Kubek, Don Chevrolet. Like him or not, Fergie Oliver was a character too. And he was part of the Blue Jays dominance back in the early 80s to the 90s as their sideline reporter. And he also did some play-by-play for TSN as well.
Yeah, and now you got guys like Dan Schulman, right, and Buck Martinez. I mean, Buck's been, involved in baseball for a lot of decades, and I mean, back in the Blue Jays in the mid '80s, right? He left for a while to do a few other things, but I mean, he's a broadcasting ever. Dan Schulman is a legend. He's won our Jack Graney Award as well. Dan has, and so it's just a pleasure to listen to these guys, these radio and TV guys. I mean, they bring out the game, right? There's nothing like listening to the game and having a good voice that you can just sit and listen to and talk baseball, and the knowledge of baseball. So key to these fellas. So it's definitely a treat.
Dan has the ability to do both radio and TV.
He does. I mean, he was back in the Jays in the, again, mid '90s, and then he went off to ESPN for a while, and doing the Sunday night baseballs and all the stuff for ESPN. But he's been back with the Jays for the last several years, and Dan's a special talent, that's for sure.
Okay, Scott, before we wrap this up, do you have a date in June for the class of 2024?
We're going to hold it June 15th, and again, it's a 3-day festival, right? We start off on in the Thursday night in Toronto. We hold a little welcoming event where you can buy tickets to get to, and then the Friday the 14th is our Celebrity Golf Classic we hold here in St. Mary's. So if you like to golf, you can come out and golf with some of the celebrities and inductees, and we have a banquet that night. If you're not a golfer but you want to come to the banquet, you can get tickets for just the banquet. And then Saturday, June 15th is the big day. I mean, you've been to it. It's outside on our ball fields under a tent. There's speeches, there's ball games, there's autograph session, there's food, there's drinks, there's an auction, the museum's open. Lots of inductees and celebrities just roaming the site, and great day to talk baseball.
Absolutely. And also somebody who's watching this or listening that's interested in and maybe possibly being a volunteer at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, how would they go about that?
Yeah, it's very simple. I mean, get a hold of me. You can send call us at 509-284-1838 or send me an email at baseball@baseballhalloffame.ca. We're always looking for help, whether it's induction weekend in June or whether it's just talking baseball in the museum. We need people, volunteers, come in and talk to the guests who walk through the doors, and what easier thing is there to do than talk baseball. And then also spreading the word, like wherever you're from, just spread the word about us. Tell people about the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Tell people about the town of St. Mary's. We're half an hour north of London, but we're 2 hours west of Toronto. So we're not in the middle of nowhere. We're easy to get to. St. Mary's is a great little town of 7,000 people. And, so even if you don't live close and you're listening to this broadcast, you can just send people to our website or tell people if they're ever in Southern Ontario, stop by St. Mary's. It's a great little town to visit.
And I hope to be back again this summer and hopefully do some more media work as well, Scott. And you don't realize how much I appreciated last year's opportunity to interview Jesse Barfield, Josh, and speak to Rich Harden and John Olerud. And I want to just say thank you so much.
No problem. It's a pleasure having you. And again, we like lots of media around to just keep spreading the word. And that's how we build it. We're a small museum in Southern Ontario. But we're the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. We're covering all of Canada and anyone that has to do with Canadian baseball, whether you're playing in Canada or you're born in Canada or whatever. We want to promote it and talk about it and keep it alive.
And I forgot to mention, I had the pleasure of interviewing and speaking with Mike Wilner as well, who's very passionate about the Blue Jays and Canadian baseball as well.
He is. He's definitely, he works for the Toronto Star now as a writer, longtime Blue Jay broadcaster, of course, and he's definitely passionate, and he's got a large Twitter following. So check him out on Twitter, and he's not afraid to say what he thinks, and that's a good thing, because you need people to say what they truly feel and get the word out there, and he has lots of good conversations with the fans.
Absolutely. And we're going to wrap this up. Where can somebody, Scott, contact the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame if they have memorabilia they would like to donate to the Hall of Fame? And what's the best way of people following the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame as well on social media?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter probably is just CDN Baseball HOF, and same on Facebook. And then we also have an Instagram account. So any of those three accounts, we sort of post the same stuff on all three accounts, but please give us a follow. And yeah, I mean, today we had a donation from a fella who had a 1968 Detroit Tigers, which will impress you, Chris. It was a record from the 1968 Detroit Tigers. It was, and I don't have a record player, so I didn't listen to it right away. We only got it 2 hours ago. But
wow.
It's all kinds of interviews from the players from the 68 team on record. And it attracts us because John Hiller, who's in our Hall of Fame, pitched for them. And of course, Ernie Harwell is there as well. So people just, we don't accept everything because it's got to have some relation to what we do here in Canadian baseball. But definitely if people have something, they just got to get in touch with us. And then we'll talk more about it. They can send us photos or just talk over the phone about it, and we'll discuss it. I mean, there's so much baseball history out there that we don't have, but there's also a lot we do have. So the duplicates we're not real excited to get. But if we don't have it, we'd love to talk to you more. And we don't know what's out there unless people let us know what they have. So give us a call or email.
Okay, and I have a lot of memorabilia as well, and I've got a whole bunch of boxes of cards that I've never opened up, and one day I will. But I just love the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and looking at memorabilia. And again, Scott, hey, I could talk to you for 2-3 hours, but I'm going to wrap this up. But I want to say, Scott, thank you so much for coming on today, and definitely would like to have you back on again in the future. I'm going to throw you on the spot here quickly before I let you go. Arizona, Texas, who wins the World Series?
I'm going Arizona. I think they powered through Philadelphia. I think they got some exciting hitters, and I'm 50-50, right? But I'm going with Arizona.
I'm going to go with Texas in 7, but regardless who wins, I want to see 7 great games.
Yeah, again, like I said earlier, I'm a baseball fan, so I want 7 games, and I want Game 7 to go to extra innings.
Same here. Scott, I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for coming on Season 6, Episode 52 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, and we'll keep in touch with you on social media, and I will send you a copy of the audio and video of our show today as well.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, man. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Scott. Have a great night.
You too.
That was Scott Crawford, the Director of Operations for the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario. You can contact the Hall via phone at 519-824-1838, or you can email the Hall of Fame at baseball@baseballhalloffame.ca. And if you've never been to the Baseball Hall of Fame here in Canada, it is in St. Mary's, Ontario. It's about, 35 minutes from Guelph and about 30 minutes from London. I guess it's in between Guelph and London as well, but it's a beautiful little Hall of Fame, and they have Canadian has such a great history of baseball that a lot of people don't realize, and they have 4 beautiful ballparks there as well. And again, as Scott was saying, the Hall of Fame's class of 2024 will be on Saturday, June 15th as well. And I'm going to put up their website before we get the shows over. And I'm going to put it up here right now. If you want to check the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame website, it's just Google Baseball Hall of Fame.ca, and all the information is on there as well. And also, you can follow the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame on social media on Twitter at CDNB Baseball HOF, as well as Facebook and Instagram as well. And again, I want to say thank you so much to Scott Crawford for coming on. And before we wrap up this show, I'm going to play an interview that I did this past June at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame with Josh Barfield, former Major League player with Cleveland Indians or the Guardians, and also I believe San Diego, and he is the son of Jesse Barfield. And I'm going to play this interview right now, and this was taken at the Hall of Fame this past June. Chris Palme here live at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame 2023 ceremony, where Jesse Barfield is getting introduced into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame today. But I have a special guest with me this morning, his son Josh Barfield, who played in the major leagues with Cleveland and San Diego. Good morning, Josh. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thoughts on your dad, Jesse Barfield, being introduced into the Canadian Hall of Fame class of 2023.
Yeah, I think it's a really good deal for him and our family. We spent so much time here, 10 years in Toronto, and the Blue Jays mean a lot to our family. And for my dad to be inducted with all these other great legends, it's really special, especially on Father's Day weekend.
Right. And also, I was going to say, when you were growing up, how much of an influence and mentor was your father on your baseball career, Josh?
He was my hero growing up. He still is. And for him to play the sport that I wanted to play and do it at such a high level, and still be such a great dad, he was always there for us on and off the field, and he helped me so much in my career and still helps me even to this day. So I'm very blessed to have such a awesome family.
Do you remember his days with the Toronto Blue Jays?
Yeah. I remember driving through Toronto the last couple of days and getting to see the places where we lived, grew up, went to school, and seeing where the old exhibition stadium was. We spent so many days during the summer growing up. I remember very vividly. Had very fun memories.
What was your favorite baseball moment of Jesse Barfield, your dad, and at an exhibition stadium in Toronto, which I grew up as well with?
Probably my favorite moment. My dad was my hero. My favorite player was Ricky Henderson. So I remember them playing the Yankees, the beat the Yankees one night. I was probably 6 years old. And after the game, my dad used to take forever coming out of the stadium. And there was a bunch of us young kids on the team that would play outside the stadium. But my mom knew Ricky Henderson was my favorite player, so we waited outside the team bus. Ricky used to take forever to get to the team bus too. And it was probably like 45 minutes after the game. He was the last one getting on the bus. It actually started raining. We're sitting under an umbrella, and Ricky Henderson comes out, and I got to meet him for the first time, got his autograph. We still have it on a piece of paper to this day.
And thoughts on your playing career as well, Josh, with the Cleveland Indians, now the Guardians, and the San Diego Padres?
Yeah, I always wanted to play in the big leagues, and I got that opportunity, and it was, everything you dream of and more. And it takes a lot of hard work to get there, and it's even harder to stay. And I was fortunate enough to have those seasons in the big leagues. And, it's a time I'll never forget. Now I get to work in the game on the other side with the Diamondbacks now, and it's pretty special.
What was your favorite moment in your Major League Baseball career?
Probably getting to go into the playoffs for the first time and play in that atmosphere, something I was dreaming about as a kid, and getting to do it for the first time and being in that atmosphere, it's like nothing else.
And who were some of your favorite teammates that you played with in your career, Josh?
I had a lot of good friends and teammates that I played with. Brady Sizemore, Rick Martinez, Ryan Garco, Vin Francisco, two of my really good friends from Cleveland. And then some of the guys I played with in San Diego, I'm still really close with. Ben Johnson, I got to play with Mike Piazza, Nathan Gonzalez, Trevor Hoffman, these guys, and still see them from time to time. So, I was fortunate enough to play with a lot of great guys and a lot of great players.
Okay, just two more quick questions, Josh. What are your thoughts on the new pitch clock in Major League Baseball?
I love it. It's the same amount of action, and it's probably 30, 40 minutes quicker. So I think it's just a better pace for play, and it's a much better pace to watch. So I really am a big fan of it.
And thoughts on being a part of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization?
Yeah, it's a great organization. You know, years now, and to see us go from a playoff team to some of the rebuild. Now see how to come up and have success, and the team having success now. It's been a lot of fun. We have a lot of really good people over there, so I wouldn't want to go anywhere else.
And where can my audience follow you on social media?
I actually have zero digital footprint when it comes to social media. So I know my dad's very active, my parents are very active, but I actually have no social media.
Okay, well, I guess they can follow the team at ArizonaDiamondbacks.com. Hey, Josh, I want to say thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
And congratulations to your dad in getting into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Thank you so much, Josh.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, that was courtesy of my YouTube channel, Chris Palme, live with CDP Sports Talk. I want to say thank you to those 233 people who've subscribed to my YouTube channel, and thank you to everyone watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe as well. And thank you to Josh Barfield for that interview, son of Jesse Barfield, and congratulations to Josh Barfield and the Arizona Diamondbacks, National League champions. And the World Series will take place Game 1 Friday night and Saturday night in Arlington, Texas, between the Texas Rangers, the American League champs, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, the National League champs, after their 4-2 win last night at Citizens Bank Park to beat those Phillies. And they were down 2-0 to the Phillies in that series. And I know a lot of Philly fans were, this series will be over in 4, and they discounted the Diamondbacks. And Arizona, credit to Torey Lovullo and the Diamondbacks, and congrats to Josh Barfield as well. And it was a pleasure being able to interview Josh. And Josh has been named the assistant general manager of the Chicago White Sox for the 2024 season. So congrats to Josh on that, and good luck to Arizona. And I'm picking Texas over Arizona in 7 games. But I'm just looking for a great series between these two ball clubs. And I'm so happy for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Texas Rangers have a very good ball club as well. The next live is CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, Season 6, Episode 53, Monday, October 30th at 5 p.m. Eastern, with my special guest, Pat Bernard, his second appearance. He is a co-host of the Edge of Philly Sports. So Pat's going to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies and what happened in that National League Series, National League Championship Series against the Diamondbacks, and where the Phillies go from here in 2024. And he's also going to talk about the 2023 NFC champion, Philadelphia Eagles. So if you love Phillies sports, Phillies fan, Eagles fan, tune in to Live with CDP Sports Talk Monday, October 30th at 5 p.m. with Pat Bernard from Edge of Philly Sports as well. The next Argo Bounce live audio show, episode number 14, with co-host Chris and Nick Small on Thursday, October 26th at 7:30 p.m. with our special guest, Griff Bordignon, with Crier Media, and he's also an Argos reporter. So Griff's going to come on and talk some Toronto Argonaut football and a little CFL with me and Nick as well. So tune in to the Argo Bounce live audio show, 7:30 tomorrow night on all these live streaming and audio platforms and on WQEE 99.1 FM. Thursday night football this week, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Buffalo Bills at 8:15 p.m. from Highmark Stadium. The Bills are coming off a devastating 29-25 loss to the New England Patriots. The Bills are now 4-3. Tampa Bay, I believe, is 3-4, and this is a must-win for the Buffalo Bills. If they lose this game at home, they'll drop to 4-4. And it's not a good way to go into the second half at 500. So to me, Sean McDermott and Ken Dorsey need to get this Buffalo Bills team going if they want to have any chance of competing for the AFC East or even the AFC #1 spot. But right now, the Buffalo Bills really need this game. And I think Tampa Bay is going to come in there and give Buffalo a hard time. I think the Bills will win this game, but I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. And the way the Bills offense right now is struggling, and with the injuries on defense, I think this is going to be a very close game as well. All right, guys. Just going to wrap this up in a few minutes, like I always do. But I want to say thank you again to Jim Taddy and Scott Crawford for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk this afternoon for a doubleheader. And let's see, live with CDP Sports Talk. Live with CDP Sports Talk, pardon me, guys, is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of some sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com as well. Live stream, live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And I want to say thank you to everybody watching this live stream broadcast today as well. You can also check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my social media sites are there, and all my digital content and my previous radio shows are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or call them at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet, gear up for fall at Barry Cullen Chevrolet with a 2023 Silverado 1500 pickup truck, 0.99% financing for up to 60 months, and eligible Costco members can receive a $150 bonus on select trucks. Again, more information about that at barrycullen.com as well. Live with CDP is on TikTok myself. You can follow me there. Live with CDP is my handle name on TikTok. And as you can tell, I post a lot of content, a lot of promos, player interviews, coaches interviews, and sports media work on my TikTok. Again, at Live with CDP on TikTok. And TikTok has been a great experience. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as myself, check out StreamYard.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, and Tuned In, and WQEE 99.1 FM weeknights at 8 o'clock as well. Finally, you can email me or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text me at the show at 519-820-7188. If you have comments, questions, or suggestions, please feel free to do so as well. And that's about it. I want to say thank you again to Jim Taddy from TSN 1050 for coming on earlier today, and Scott Crawford, the Director of Operations for the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario, for coming on as well. And I'm looking forward to the Argo Bounce live audio show with my co-host Nick Small tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. with their special guest Griff Bordignon from Crier Media, and he's also a reporter for the Argonauts as well. So we're going to talk to Griff about the Argos and the CFL, and look forward to that show. And then Monday, October 30th, 5 p.m., Pat Bernard, co-host of The Edge of Philly Sports, to come on and talk about what happened with the Phillies in the National League Championship Series and where they go from here in 2024, and about the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles. I hope everybody has a great night. And again, I want to do a shout out to my friend Dwight. He's a manager at Guac Mexi Grill at 1005 Paisley Road here in Guelph. If you haven't checked out Guac Mexi Grill, check it out. If you love fresh food and Mexican food, great place. It's just off on Paisley Road, right by Zares, and great food, great customer service as well. But again, thank you everyone for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph, and weeknights at 8 on WQEE 99.1 FM. I hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow night for the episode 14 of the Argo Bounce live audio show with myself and Nick Small. Good night, everybody.